Hey, what's up, y'all? Got another topic today. Today, I want to talk about how I almost gave up on programming altogether. I just remember there was a really definitive moment of this thought process that I was going through. It was right as I really wasn't making any strides. I was working my construction job, living in a new city, and life was actually not that bad, right? One thing about construction is that I was actually getting paid decently well, or at least enough to sustain myself as a single dude living in a new city. I was able to meet new people. I was able to go have the dinners and buy clothes or whatever it may be that I wanted. And life was actually pretty relaxing with construction. I think that's one thing that people don't think about is, although blue collar work is really hard, blue collar work definitely pays pretty well, at least compared to some of the other university degrees. My trajectory was pretty good as well. I think I saw the coworkers ahead of me. I saw people ahead of me in the construction field and in the roles ahead of me, and the trajectory seemed great. Like being if at the worst case scenario you can rank up in your trade, and on the best case scenario, you could become like a sales rep or that kind of person that actually does the selling of the jobs. And like my boss that was doing that was making probably $300,000 right before he retired. So I think for what it is, for the type of job it is, the trajectory was great. I just felt so comfortable, right? And on top of that, on the other spectrum, I was going to the library every single day or as much as I could, struggling hard, just spending months stuck on the for loop. That for loop. I got to tell you, I just remember being at a point where I was so in I was so bad at it that I was feeling embarrassed sitting in front of a laptop by myself at a library when in reality it's like nobody there even worried about worried about what I was doing. I just was so bad at it that I redid the for loop lesson. I remember on Coursera on JavaScript probably 4 or 5 times, and just reading that book over and over again, pausing it on YouTube videos, just stopped at I equals two iteration and just trying to like write down how it got to I equals two, all the little steps that it took. And I remember the function was so basic, right? All it was like it had a counter and you were just adding one to the counter. And I just couldn't understand how it got to that point on iteration I equals two. I just remember sitting there staring at a YouTube video trying to figure that out. So a lot of it was very difficult. I mean, I think it's funny because if you imagine running a marathon, right? I knew that the end goal, let's say getting a job is the end goal of running a marathon, is like completing a marathon, the 20 plus miles. I think that for the longest time, I was stuck, just absolutely stuck at mile one, like just being able to run 1 mile over and over again. And to be honest, the opposite side was looking pretty good. I'm a very outdoorsy person, so like to be outside. That didn't bother me from construction. The pay was good. Job was dangerous and hard, but I think, it was what it was. I didn't know any better at the time. And I don't think that even till this day, I definitely don't think like, if you can get into a good trade, I still think it's a great profession to be in. So things were looking good, had good trajectory. My social life was good. And I just was like, everything almost was telling me to stop. But one thing really, really actually bugged me. And this is actually probably the main thing that prevented me from giving up. And the main thing that bugged me was that on top of learning programming, going to the library every day and learning the physical technical skills of JavaScript, I was learning more than I wish I did at the time about myself, my learning ability, my patience, my ego, all those things combined. And I think that if I would have given up at that time, I would have stopped right in the middle of that point where I would have had a lot of recognition about, how smart I really am, the perspective I have, my ego that I see myself, how I see myself and what I really knew. And in reality, I think every day I was going to the library. I was recognizing that, hey, I simply did not put in the work or didn't have the skills that I needed to succeed earlier in my life in school. And in fact, all those years I did school, middle school, high school, all that stuff, I just didn't even learn what I needed to learn to be able to pick up a new topic. I would have left myself hanging right in the middle of that if I would have given up. And so it's funny. It's like I was getting an extra lesson that I didn't ask for. I was learning programming, and that lesson was, that battle, that conflict with yourself, that mental battle that you would also have if you were trying to, like, get yourself to be able to run a marathon, basically. So after a while, after struggling really badly, I think one of the main things that was causing me to I recognized that one of the main things that was causing me to struggle really badly was because I kept on comparing myself, and it was a constant race of why I thought I was bad. I mean, I just thought I was bad because I just thought if this was school, my coworkers or my classmates would be able to pick this topic up faster, or I just somehow was not picking it up quickly, and I just thought like I was going very slow. And it wasn't until like the very end attempts where I just struggled on that for loop for so many days that I realized that's like, hey, I really need to just start taking my own path and trying a different strategy instead of just thinking about how a traditional academic student would have approached this problem, or how fast or how slow they would have been able to understand the topic. It wasn't until then, right? And that's like months of realization on myself and reflection on my own capabilities that I've come to that conclusion that, hey, I need to find and discover my own path on how to learn these things. It wasn't until then, until I stopped that mental race, that I really just started going to the library and enjoying it a lot more, right? Like, it was very enjoyable to instead of being stuck and following, for example, the traditional path of picking. Okay, if you don't get something, it's like you traditional path would be to like read the book again, right? Read the topic again, do the more practice problems, that kind of thing. But instead, having the creativity to try it the way I think would work for me, that's really what kept me going and made me enjoy doing the topic a lot more. Once I realized that, and once I started taking that direction, right, it wasn't a matter of when I'll learn it. It was just more like, hey, this became more of a hobby, more than it was more of a hobby, more of something that I just genuinely enjoy to do, and go every day, because it's like I got to learn it at my own speed. I get to practice this the way I want it to. I got to take the lessons the way I think would be, you know, best for myself. That basically almost every single lesson that I took from there on, sitting there by myself, was an enjoyable time, was a fun project that I genuinely enjoyed doing. I was no longer restricting myself from somehow, even though I was sitting there all by myself, right? Didn't know a single soul in the world in those libraries. I was still pushing myself against a stereotypical, or my own stereotypical perspective of what it means to learn something. And it wasn't until I took myself out of that and started doing it and just trying to discover my own way of doing it where it became more enjoyable. It was almost like programming outside of learning the technical topic became a medium for myself to find creativity in how to learn something. That creativity became very enjoyable every single day, because no longer was I thinking back onto how an old math teacher wanted me to learn math. It was like every day was showing up and discovering the way and sharpening how I would learn things on top of, and just using programming as the medium of of sharpening that skill. And so I'm really thankful for that. And I think that that's actually at the end what really kept me going. I think if I would have kept on following my my traditional ideology of what learning something would be in an academic setting, or how a professor or a teacher taught wanted me to learn something in the previous path, I don't think I would have succeeded. And I don't think I would have enjoyed it. The most important thing for me at the end here is like, it's this is like an unlimited and endless cycle of learning, right? Even till this day, I'm learning something new every day. Even just today, I told my coworker, hey, I don't know how this IP routing works on Lambda functions. Something we need to discover, right? There's something new every single day. And if you don't find a way to enjoy that, if you don't find a way to enjoy the learning process, or discover what works for you, and you just keep on banging your head against how someone might have taught you to do it earlier, it's just gonna be not enjoyable. You're gonna stop eventually, and that's kind of the big mindset shift that I think ultimately kept me away from giving up, is realizing that, you know, it doesn't need to be learning doesn't need to be a certain way. Programming doesn't need to be a certain way. I can do it my way. And ultimately every single day I enjoy the that aspect of it now every single day. And I hope that everyone out there goes through this path and and recognizes this and starts discovering the enjoyment of just being able to learn altogether. If you have any questions, let me know. If not, I hope this helps, and I'll talk to you guys later.